We are getting ready for our Flex and Flow class. Today's going to be a little more of the strength side of the Flex and Flow. So you may want to have your dumbbells or resistance bands nearby, whatever you'd like. As always, I practice in bare feet, but if you're using dumbbells, you may want to have something on your shoes to protect your feet should you drop something. And please don't drop something, but things happen. So again, you might want to grab your shoes or already have them on. We're going to start, and I have my music playing, but you might want to have something playing to help with the motivation or just the rhythm of what we're doing, help with the flow. But before we even get started, we're just going to first, step gently side to side. And we're not walking, we're just finding a place of finding balance and stability between both feet, both sides of the body. We use our feet as our foundation. So we want to first make sure that we are firm and stable in our grounding. And we can even look down, make sure all 10 toes are facing front, knees are soft. It's a little bit of a bend. Sometimes we have a tendency to lock out the knees when we think about standing straight, but relaxing those knees, rolling the shoulders, letting them soften towards our back pockets. Palms can be facing forward, fingertips down, and just finding that strength. Crown of the head is reaching towards the sky, almost as if we had a string reaching from the top of the head, pulling us a little bit taller, but still keeping a nice modest dip in the chin. So this is our mountain pose that we use in just about every single yoga practice, but using this as our touchstone and our touchstone and our starting point as we get ready to move. So if you'd like, you can close your eyes for a moment or two. We won't be here very long since we want to focus more on the strength side of our practice today, but we can take a moment or two to check in with our bodies, maybe closing the eyes or softening the gaze. Listening to any sensations in the body, really listening to what the body is saying before we start moving, and then especially when we get moving. Maybe setting an intention to listen to the body today, honoring what the body needs, honoring what the body has to give to us today. Opening the eyes if they were closed. And we're just going to start with some deep sun breaths here. And actually, we might start a little more shallow. So depending upon what you've already been doing today, you might want to start more shallow than I am, and that's perfectly fine. Our feet can be about shoulder width or maybe a little further. And we're just going to inhale and have a bend in the knees, and then exhale, bending in the knees. So again, as shallow or as deep as feels good. We're just starting to wake up the body, send some oxygen to all our major muscle groups. And we can cross the arms, one in front of the other, and maybe switch which one was on top or which one is on top from the last time we did this, the last round. And that might be trickier than it sounds. We might not remember what we just did a moment ago. So it's a little bit of brain training. And I'm a little flowy, a little bouncy here, but if you want to do this more slowly, you could do that. So you don't have to bounce. You can move a little more with intention. I've warmed up a little bit before our time here today, so that informs my choices, but you get to move the way that you feel. So we'll do just a few more. Remember, the inhale is the lift, and as we exhale, we'll lower. Or if you think that feels a little funny, you can just make sure you're breathing in and breathing out. So we're going to bring the arms down, roll them down, and we're going to actually roll the shoulders or roll through the shoulders. Inhaling up, exhaling back and down, inhaling up, exhaling back. So you might have a little bit of a twist here, maybe looking behind the body as that arm goes to the back. And again, if this feels a little too much, we can make it a little smaller. You might stay more front facing. So honoring what your shoulders are telling you. And then only looking back if that feels okay to the neck. And now we'll reverse that and come to the front. So either big arm circles, or we could have a smaller arm circle. We might even just bring the arm here. So there's always another way to modify or to vary. So thinking about the options that we have. And it's never about what your body looks like compared to what I might be doing or anybody else might be doing. It's all about how does it feel in your body. So we'll pause here and notice you might even feel a little bit of work in that, even though we were just trying to get some circulation going and warming things up. You feel a little bit of work. Know that the shoulder muscles were doing something. And as we come to this opposite side, same things hold. Big or small. Maybe we can turn. We might even lift up, like come up on the toe on the opposite foot. And then reversing that, we'll go to the front. So noticing where we're feeling this. Noticing if maybe one direction feels a little more natural and maybe we need to change it up in the opposite direction. All right, just a couple more. Now we're going to do almost like a chest fly, but with arms and cactus arms. And we're just going to bring the arms in, elbows touching, elbows, forearms, and hands, and then out. So the exhale is the in, the inhale is the out. So maybe noticing this into the upper back and shoulders. And again, we're in the warm up right now, but if at any point this feels like too much, we can always slow this down. You can change your pace. You can pause and take a break. Because for some of us, these muscles, the upper back and shoulders, don't get as much attention. We don't pay as much attention work-wise or strength-wise to them. So even without weights, even in the warm-up, we might be feeling this work adding up, and that's totally okay. So we'll shake those arms out. And we're going to come back to the lower body a little bit. And we're going to do a combination for the legs and the arms. We're going to do a bicep curl. Again, no weights at this point. We're just going to tap front. Tap the one foot forward, then the other foot. So a little bit of a bend in the knee. And we're just tapping forward and bicep curl. Tapping forward and bicep curl. If that's too confusing, trying to do both at the same time, we can pick one or the other. So we're just gently tapping side to side. And we'll do 4 more. And 1 more. And now we're just going to do a little side to side. So we're tapping with one foot and that same arm is reaching overhead. And we're breathing here, making sure we're letting our breath come in and out at whatever pace feels good. So you might slow this motion down, or I probably wouldn't go too much faster than this, at least not in the warm-up, but finding a pace that feels good to you and matching your breath. So basically just making sure we're getting the breath in and out. Sometimes when we're focusing on a movement, we start to hold the breath. And now we're going to go across. We're reaching across. So remember, if any of this gets a little too much, doing the arms and the legs at the same time, we can pick one or the other. And stay there. Now we're going to reach down. So down towards the foot. We're not going all the way down. We're not tapping the floor. So it's almost like a little bit of a lunge out and reach. If that feels challenging, reaching down, we can stay with reaching across or reaching up, or we can stay here with the lunge. Just keeping our arms at our side. Breathing. I'm going to do 4 more down. All right. So how do we feel? We've done the warm up. We might want to take a drink of our water. So remembering to keep our water nearby. And even if I don't pause to take a sip of water, if you need a pause, you need some water, please making sure to do that. So we're going to start without any weights, and we're going to have a little bit of attention on the lower body first. So we're going to start with some squats. Our feet are a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, or if you notice anything with the knees as we're doing these squats, you can adjust your distance between your feet, because when we move them closer or further apart, it changes how we feel it in our legs. It changes which parts of the muscles get more attention. So knees are facing forward. Right now, I have my feet facing forward. And of course, sometimes we do them with our feet facing out a little bit. And again, how we adjust those things will change where we're feeling it in our bodies. So feeling free to make the adjustments that fit your body. We're going to inhale here and then exhale, squatting down. The butt, glutes are facing back. Knees are over the ankles. So if we notice our knees are in front of the feet, then making an adjustment. So I'm going to turn to the side so you can see. So we're squatting down. So rather than coming forward and putting an unsafe angle on the knees, we're imagining that we're sitting back in a chair. And sometimes that can be helpful as well, having a chair as a target to come towards. You can do whatever you'd like with the arms. I'm still kind of continuing our bicep curl here. And as we're squatting, hopefully we've warmed up enough that we can find a comfortable squat. But if we're still a little cool and we need to warm up a little bit more, we might be up higher. Holding on to that idea of it's not what it looks like, it's what it feels like. Now, of course, we want to practice in safe alignment. So that's why we look at things about, can we see the big toe in front of the knee? Are we sitting our hips back, our glutes back as if we're sitting in that chair? Chin is parallel to the floor. Whoops, I lost my rhythm there with my arms. Heart is lifted. So we're not trying to get all the way down. We're not trying to reach the floor or look at the floor. So we'll do 2 more. And then we're going to come up. We'll shake out those legs because we're going to continue with our attention on the legs. And now we're going to do a side-to-side lunge. So making sure that we have space around us or space to the sides. So if we need to move our weights out of the way to do so or anything else, we're going to start with our feet somewhat close together. We're going to take this left leg, come out to the side, similar to our squat that we were just in, knees in front or knees over the ankles. We can still see that big toe. Glutes are facing backward. So it's almost like a side lunge or a single leg lunge to one side. Well, I guess it is a side lunge, but it's almost like a side squat. One leg is squatting and the other leg is extending. So checking that we've got that knee safely aligned so we don't have it in front of the foot. And if for any reason this feels a little awkward, we could stay with those regular front squats or regular squats. We'll do one more to each side. And again, shaking that out. I'm going to grab a tissue. So now we're getting ready to do a reverse lunge. So I'm going to show you the reverse lunge from the side first so you can see it. Now a reverse lunge means just that we're going to step to the back. So we might need to check what's behind us to make sure that there's nothing there that we could accidentally bump or trip on. You might want to use a chair. I'll show you with a chair first, and then I'm going to set the chair off to the side. But you could have a chair right here, and then standing in basically that mountain pose, we're going to step. I'm going to step back with the left foot first. So we're going to step back. Knee is bent at a 90-degree angle. Front leg is at a 90-degree angle. And then we'll come forward and step back with the other side. So you can do that with the assistance of a chair or without. So now I'm going to just move through this facing you. And again, since I'm not using the chair, I can make those bicep curls with my arms, or I could keep my hands on my hips. And again, you might have a hand on a chair, and that'll help with stability. So if this is a newer movement for us, that could be very beneficial. So it's helpful to learn the move with support if it's something new. And even if we'd like to try it without the support, if we have the chair here, if we get a little wobbly, we know we have it to hold on to. All right, we'll do a few more. All right, and then we'll shake that out. So we've really given our legs quite a bit of attention here. So we'll shake them out, maybe do some hip circles. And again, you could be holding on to your chair if you're doing the circles with me, or maybe there's something else that your body's asking for. It might be helpful to do a quad stretch. And you can do the quad stretch on the floor if you'd like, either laying on your belly or laying on your side, or you could hold on to that chair. I'll turn to the other side. All right, so we'll shake all that out and we'll give ourselves a few more bonus circles. So we're going to change our focus a little bit to more of the lower back. What we're about to do is a bent over row, and we could either do that with our dumbbells or our band. I'll show you with the band. So if we're using the band, we'll step on it with both feet, giving ourselves roughly the same amount of band on each side. Keeping those knees soft, we're going to hinge at the hips. And you might have to adjust where you're holding the band. And we're going to keep our gaze down towards the floor. So rather than looking up at me, so you might want to look first. And then once you get the gist of what we're doing, then you can look down, and that's going to help protect the neck. So we're going to inhale here, belly buttons engaged, and we'll bring elbows up towards the body and then down. So up and release. So I'm going to show you a variation if this doesn't feel comfortable, or we feel like we're compromising our lower back in any way. If the lower back isn't feeling happy, we can come down to the floor. Same thing, knees have a little bit of a bend. We'll take the band around the instep of the feet. And for this one, I actually come down lower on the band, and you might do that also. We're going to sit up nice and tall with a straight spine. and bringing those elbows still in close to the body. Belly button's drawing in. Exhale and inhale. Now for either version of this, we want to pause right here. This is where the work is happening. And then we inhale, release. Exhale, pull back. Inhale, release. Elbows are very close to the body. Forearms are right next to the ribs. And one thing I really like about the band, when we do this, you can feel it in both directions. So really making sure we're getting in the breath. And I like both versions of this exercise, so either standing or sitting, but when we're sitting, we can really focus on that good posture. It helps protect us from rounding through the spine, especially the lower back. So we'll do maybe 2 more. Always remembering you can pause and take a rest before I do. That's fine. So we're going to release that band, but we're going to still keep it pretty much the way we have it, and making our way onto our backs. So however you'd like to get there, we have that band around the feet. And now this time we're going to stretch the feet a little bit wider than shoulder distance apart. We've crisscrossed the band and now taking elbows down to the floor. Now for this one, you may need to have a longer band. So if your band isn't long enough, you could do this without the band. And you can also bend the knees as much as you need here. So if it doesn't feel good to have the legs up towards the sky like I do, you can adjust that. So from here, if you're holding onto the band like I am, we're going to go out and then pause and then in just to where we started. We still have a little bit of resistance. And if you can't make it all the way down with your band, one way you can do it without, putting the band down completely is bringing your arms up closer to the ribs and doing that. You could have your hands up here and elbows on your ribs instead of having the elbows all the way down to the floor. So I'm going to pause out here and I'm going to pulse 1, 2, 3, in, out, 2, 3, in, out, 2, 3, in. So that pause gives us a little more focused attention. And if that's too much, you can stay at the singles, single counts. So again, the single count looks like out and in, out and in, out and in, out and in. I'm going to go back to a few more of those pulses. Out, 2, 3, in, out, 2, 3, in, out, 2, 3, in, out, 2, 3, in. So we're going to go back to 4 singles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to pause there an extra second or two, holding that just as long as it feels good. If this is too much, you can release it, but I'm going to hold it for 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we're going to release that band, coming down and just kind of noticing where we felt that. You can bring knees to chest if you want. So we're going to stretch that out a little bit quick, not quickly, but taking the hand behind the thigh or the calf, wherever you'd like to hold on. You could even use that band again, holding on, drawing the foot in, foot is flexed. And then taking, so I'm on the right side. If you're on the same side with me, or if you're the opposite, I'm going to take the band into my right hand. So the same hand as leg, letting the band come out and the leg come out to the side, keeping both hips on the ground. So that helps Let's feel that a little bit in the inner thigh, which we might have noticed inner thighs or outer thighs in that exercise we just did. I'll come up, switching hands and then going with big toe just a little bit across the body. So now we might feel this anywhere along the outer side of the leg. So maybe the calf all the way up to the IT band. And again, we're not taking that foot very far across the body. It's just across center. And then releasing that, we'll switch to the other leg. So either holding on at the leg or looping the band. We'll first flex the foot and not forcing the stretch, because if we force it too much, we're actually going to tighten the legs. We want to help loosen up and return the muscle back to its resting length of what we just did. So first, a more traditional hamstring stretch with a heel up towards the sky, drawing the leg towards the body, and then taking the band into the same hand as the leg, out to the side. Again, we're not falling over to the other side. We're not just flopping open. We want to have some control here, feeling this more into the inner thigh. And then we're going to bring this leg back up to the sky. Big toe comes towards the opposite shoulder. So just a few degrees past the midline. And we can switch hands with the band if we'd like. And then we'll release that down. Knees in towards the chest, rocking, maybe circling. We're gonna roll towards one side using the hands to come up onto hands and knees. And before we move on, we'll give our spine a little bit of a treat with cat and cow. Hands directly under shoulders, knees under hips. Inhaling, heart comes forward. Exhaling, rounding. Inhaling and exhaling. Tucking the toes under, we'll walk the hands just a little bit forward of where they were in tabletop. Coming into a downward facing dog, pedaling out the heels or pedaling out the feet. Letting the heels reach down towards the ground, walking hands back to meet the feet, finding forward fold at the back of the yoga mat. Knees are soft, letting the head and neck hang and just release, shaking the head and neck out, shaking your head no, saying no to limiting thoughts, and then nodding our heads yes, saying yes, I am enough, just as I am. We're going to deepen the bend in our knees. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Arms come next to the body. And then gently bending down, releasing or reaching for our band. So we're going to bring our attention to upper body now. And we're going to take our band a little bit, probably just a tiny bit wider than shoulder width apart. Bringing those arms up, and we've got roughly equal distance or equal amount of band on each side. Knees are still soft. We're going to inhale here and then exhaling, drawing the band down to about shoulder height. Slowly coming back up and then exhaling down. So only using the band if that adds to the movement. I'll do two more and then we'll go to what it would look like without the band. So I'm going to just take the band behind me. We could do arms up, fists touching, and then exhaling down, finding that those cactus arms, inhaling up, exhaling down. So a little bit different than when we were coming in and out. Now we're going up and down. And we'll notice that when we're doing it without the band, we have those cactus arms. With the band, we don't really have those cactus arms, and Looks like I've got a little bit of static going on, and I have to adjust my hold on the band so I have a little bit more band to stretch. When we have too little band, not only does it get a little bit harder, but sometimes we might pull too hard and snap the band. So being mindful of that. And again, we might be feeling this into upper back and shoulders, some of those areas that we worked in the warm-up. We inhale up and we exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. We'll do just two more. And then releasing that band, shaking those arms out. We'll take one arm across the body, holding on above the elbow, making sure the ear is away from the shoulder, shoulders away from the ear. So if we feel crunched up here, and even if this is, pretty much where we are, thinking about getting that shoulder away from the ear. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, and by time I mean weeks or months to get there, because if we're really, really tight, it might not be a quick transition. But the more we think about pushing that shoulder away from the ear, the more we'll work our way to getting that little bit of distance. And that's going to be helpful for tension that we hold up here. Other arm comes across, again, holding on above the elbow. We can wiggle those fingers, think about pushing that shoulder down away from the ear. So even if we have that space, just thinking about pushing the shoulder away is going to change the sensation. We're going to feel it a little bit more. All right, so we're going to shake that out. What we're about to do now is a warrior two with a bicep curl. So for this, you can do this with or without dumbbells. I'm going to grab mine. So I'm going to bend down, picking them up safely. We're going to set up with left leg forward, right leg back at an angle. So we've got that angle, but we're still pressing the outer edge of the foot down. So we want to have equal weight. I'm going to set my weights down quickly to show you. So the left foot is forward. Right foot is pretty much in line. The arch is in line with the heel. And we're putting equal weight on both feet as if we're trying to stretch the mat apart. We'll sit down into that front knee, and that might mean we need to adjust that back leg. So maybe we need to come back a little farther, especially if you want to go into more of, or getting closer to a 90-degree angle with this front knee. And always making sure that the knee is above the ankle. So again, if we have that knee pushing forward too much, and I don't really want to get into that position because it's not super safe, but if we notice that the knee is in front of the foot or in front of the big toe, then we can adjust how we're standing. We can give our leg a little bit of help. And we really want to also make sure that this front leg is spiraling towards the pinky toe edge of the foot. So if that leg is flopping in a little bit, giving it some help. Now, of course, this is already a lot of work. Really paying focused attention to how we have the legs. And sometimes when we're in a yoga flow, we might pay a little less attention. I mean, the alignment is always something to pay attention to, but right now we're really putting attention on it. So if this is enough and you're really feeling like, hey, I've got a lot going on with the legs, we did a lot with the legs already, then you can leave the dumbbells out of it. I'm going to bend down and reach for mine. And I guess at this point, I should also say, if your legs are feeling a little tired from what we've done already, then you can leave the warrior legs out of it. You could just come into more of an upright standing with mountain pose. So either in mountain pose or here in warrior two legs, we're going to do our bicep curl. So shoulders are back and down, arms are forward. We're either holding onto dumbbells or imagining that we've got them in our hands. And we're going to exhale and inhale. Exhaling up, inhaling down. Now we're not going to have to do very many of these because one, we're fatiguing the legs by holding this pose. And two, we're moving with intention and awareness. So we'll do two more on this side. Exhaling up, inhaling down. So very carefully, we're going to set the weights down. And then we're going to come up and I'm going to step off to the side. So my dumbbells are right here. So making sure you're not near your dumbbells. You're going to shake the legs out. We don't want to accidentally kick the dumbbells or fall over them. So just giving a little kick, maybe shaking the glutes out or circling. So when we hold a warrior two, you probably noticed that we start to feel it a little differently than when we move from warrior two to triangle to warrior one, things like that. So now we're going to do the opposite side. So now this right leg is going to come forward. Left leg is behind us. Adjusting the legs however we need to, making sure we still have that equal weight on the outer edge of the foot. And the reason why we put emphasis on this or focus on this is because it can be easy to stand up on this foot, almost like we're in a lunge, lifting that heel away. But when we put the weight on the outer edge of the foot as well, we're sending energy and dynamic tension down this back leg as well. So first checking to make sure that everything's feeling good. And again, if it feels a little awkward going down for the dumbbells from this position, we can just first notice that we've got this good alignment. So we can come out of this, bend down, pick the dumbbells up if we're using them, or we can pick up those imaginary dumbbells, return to this position, arms in the front of the body, relaxing the shoulders, and then we're gonna start our bicep curls here. Now we only did 8 on the other side, so we'll do 8 on this side. Exhaling down, we've got 4 more to go. One more. All right, so now this time I'm going to lift out of the warrior position. I'll come out of it before I set down my dumbbells. So I'm going to set them off to the side this time. And we'll shake them out. Hopefully you can see me okay. It looks like the sun's coming in kind of bright. So hopefully it's not too much. If it is, please feel free to let me know. All right, so we're going to shake those arms, shake the legs. We're making our way back down to the floor. So however you'd like to get there, you can, go down to your knees first and then roll to one side. Just, it doesn't have to be a yoga flow move to get here. So we're getting down onto the floor. And I think before we move on at all, we're going to take our hands behind the body and we'll just windshield wiper the legs. So again, we've had a lot of attention on our legs. And it's also very important to have the time between our different movements, between our exercises, to let the muscles recover a little bit, return to their resting leg, and also to have a drink of water. So if you've been waiting for me to take one, now's a good time to take one. So we're going to come onto our backs. We're going to do a combination for the chest. And I'll show you, well, I guess I'll come onto the floor and I'll show you without any dumbbells, and then we can add the dumbbells. So on our backs, we're going to have our arms out to the side as if we were in cactus arms. Knees are bent, feet are flat on the floor. And we're going to come up in a chest press, rotate so that the palms are facing in towards each other. Softening the elbows, will come out to a chest fly. Elbows are on the ground, but the hands are slightly up. So it's almost as if we're hugging a big tree. So that's what we're going to think about here, is hugging that tree. And we'll exhale, still hugging the tree. Elbows are soft, so it's a rounded arm. We'll come back to that chest fly position, or the chest press position, with the palms facing away from us, and then we'll come down. So I'll show you that one more time. It's exhale up, palms facing away, rotate the forearms so the palms are facing in. We'll come out, elbows are soft, hugging that tree, or making that big circular motion with the arms. And then we'll come back up, still keeping those arms soft like we're hugging that tree. Forward, and we'll come and finish the chest press. So it's basically, we're starting with a chest press, turning the arms, doing the chest fly, finishing the chest fly, and then finishing the chest press. So you can do that with or without dumbbells. I'll do it with, and you get to find whichever feels better. And you can do some with and some without also. So we're going to start here. Lower back is pressing the floor. Feet are flat on the ground, or we could bring our feet up with the knees bent. So up, rotate, exhaling, they come out into the chest fly, up, forward, and down. Now, since there's a lot of work happening in this move, it can be tricky to know where to do the inhales and where to do the exhales. But the most important thing is to make sure we're doing them. I'm moving more on the slow side. Sometimes I'll say as quick or as slow as you want, but not rushing through this. We want to be really mindful of our joints, specifically our elbow joints here. And that's why we want to keep the elbows soft throughout. And if at any point it feels like the weight is a little too much, or it feels like we're compromising the safety of our joints, then we can set those weights down or maybe go to a lighter weight. And if you put your legs up like I have and you feel like the lower back is lifting or it feels uncomfortable, then of course bringing the feet down. Because this exercise is really more about the chest. And when we lift the legs, we get a little bonus for the abdominals. But if we're causing any tension or difficulty to other parts of our body by doing that, and we can even have them here, then it would be safer to set the feet down. All right, we'll do one more. So up, turn, out, in, turn, and down. All right, so we can set the weights out beside us, let the arms go out to the sides. We're just taking a moment to let them stretch. Another option for a stretch here would be coming back into a sitting position, a seated position. So you can either stay here with the arms out, letting them stretch, or coming up into that seated posture. We'll take the arms out behind us. Now, the closer the hands come to each other, the more intense this might feel. Or if we need to take them a little wider, that's fine too. We're pressing our palms into the floor and lifting through the chest. Breathing. Now we're getting ready to do a move for the tricep muscles, which is an area that a lot of women like to work. Sometimes they call this the bat arms or different things I've heard. And we're going to come onto our backs. Now, this move is called skull crushers, but I do not want you to actually crush your skull. So we're going to be very mindful about this. And I'm going to come onto my back. And again, I'll show you without any weights. And then you have the choice of adding or not, adding the weight or not. So we're going to take our arms up overhead. And our attention here is really going to be on the elbows. And we're going to move only from the lower arm. And the elbow is going to stay just as it is. So you can see here, I'm holding my elbow, and you could even try that to see what that feels like. Because we're not trying to, just get down or like move the whole arm. It's at the elbow. We're hinging at the elbow. And we want to make sure that if we are using a weight, that it's coming beside the head. We're not actually coming towards the skull or toward, even though we call it skull crushers. You could try it on the other side. So bending, and when we bend, we're exhale or inhaling here. And then the work on this one is actually the extension. So when we extend the arm, that's where we're getting the work. So it's almost like the opposite of a bicep curl. So when we're doing a bicep curl, we're bringing the arm or the fist towards the shoulder, and that's where the work happens. But with a tricep extension, the work happens when we extend the arm. So we'll go into the move now with both arms. and only adding the weight if you feel comfortable. And you can continue to try a few more without the weight if you'd like. We've got the arms overhead. We're going to bend here, both elbows, and we can let the weight tap the mat right next to the ears if we'd like. We still have like a couple inches between the head and the weights. So we'll pause it there, and then we'll bend it down. And we don't even have to tap the floor. We might just come right here and lift, and down and lift. And it might actually be a little more work to pause there. Making sure we're breathing. We'll do 4 more. 2 more. And 1 more. Then we'll safely set our weights off to the side. And we are going to come back up. So I've been putting my hand behind my thigh and rocking up, and you could do that. Or you could come to the side, roll up, because we're going to do another stretch. But this time we're going to stretch out the tricep muscles. And if it feels awkward sitting for the stretch, we could stand up as well. We're going to take the right arm up, fingertips would go behind the shoulder, and then we might choose to hold on to that elbow and keeping that elbow pointing up towards the sky, making sure we're not pulling or tugging on the head. If we feel our neck feels uncomfortable, we can just leave this elbow up. So breathing here. We want to breathe during all of our moves. So whether it's the actual exercise or stretching things out, we want to make sure we're letting the breath flow in and out. Other arm comes up, fingertips between the shoulder blades. This might be enough right here, or we can take that elbow into the right hand. Breathing. When we breathe, we're sending oxygen to all those muscles that have been working. Every single cell. We'll release that out. Shake it out a little bit. All right, so we're going to come on to our backs and do a tiny bit for our abdominals, making sure that we've got everything out of the way. So you might need to move your weight a tiny bit more. Coming onto our backs. So again, maybe rolling to one side, or maybe coming down slowly with control. Knees come into the chest. And from here, we're going to first start with a basic abdominal crunch. So we'll take our feet down. Knees are bent. Fingertips are out towards the ears. And keeping our gaze up towards the sky, we're going to inhale with elbows wide, and then exhale. So I lost my earbud. We'll come back down. Inhaling, and then we'll exhale on the lift. And keeping our gaze up towards the sky. It's not about looking at the knees, looking up, and whether we come up a little or a lot, we can just think about the shoulders lifting and then lowering down. Inhaling here and then exhaling up. Imagining we have a softball between our chin and chest. So that's going to keep us a little more mindful so we don't pull on the head and neck. Lowering down. We'll do one more like this. Inhaling and then exhaling. Abdominals are engaging and then lowering down. So we can stay just like that with the basic crunch, or if we'd like, we can bring knees up as if we were sitting in a chair, or feet up towards the sky. The legs are purely optional here. And we still want to keep our fingertips behind the ears. We're using the hands as a little bit of support, but we're not pulling on the head. We want to be really careful that we don't do that. Inhale, drawing the belly button in, exhaling to lift. Inhaling to lower, exhaling to lift. So as we have options to add on, we have an option to either reach for opposite ankle. And then I'll show you what that'll look like if we have our feet on the ground, reaching for opposite knee. And you might do a combination. Exhaling on the lift, inhaling to lower. Exhaling on the lift, inhaling to lower. Moving slowly and with control. Sometimes we get into a bit of momentum, where we're using momentum instead of the muscles. So when we slow it down, the muscles have to do a little bit more of the work. So we'll do just 2 more. And then we're going to lower the feet down if they were lifted, either keeping the knees bent or we can extend the legs. So just taking a moment to let the abdominals stretch out. So we use our abdominals in a lot of moves, even other moves that we've done already, because we have attention on having that good form. And anytime we bring a knee in towards the chest and other type of movements, that causes the abdominals to be engaged. So we actually use our abdominals or work our abdominals in many of our movements, but just wanted to give us a little bit of time to polish them off here. And since we did so much for the legs, we're going to do a figure 4, or we can come up into pigeon pose. So I'm going to come into pigeon pose. For figure 4, we would take the right leg with the ankle over the thigh and the foot flexed. But I'm going to come up and do a pigeon pose instead, and it's up to you which one you do. So if you want to come to a pigeon pose, we'll start out hands and knees, bringing that right knee up towards the right hand, and then maybe bringing the foot towards the hip, across the body a little bit more. Rear leg extends. You can stay upright on the hands, or maybe walking down onto the forearms. We could even use a block to let the forehead rest. So pigeon pose and figure 4 might feel slightly different. And if we're in pigeon pose, if we're noticing anything at all with the knees, then it's so much safer to go back to that figure 4 on our backs. And in fact, figure 4 is often called supine pigeon pose or upside down pigeon pose. So we'll switch to the other side. So either on our backs, or we can come into that pigeon pose. So starting hands and knees, left knee comes towards the left wrist, and then maybe taking that ankle and that heel across the body. And we can also keep that ankle closer to the other side if that feels better. And I guess I'll start here upright for a moment or two, because I can really feel good to that front of the back leg. And then only lowering down if that feels appropriate. Remembering we could be on our backs with the left leg in that figure 4, keeping the foot flexed. So from here, if we're on our backs, we'll stay there. If we're in pigeon pose, we'll make our way onto one side, or at least onto that glute on the bottom. Maybe keeping a block nearby. And then any move that would feel good, any move that would feel helpful to your body. So maybe some more hip circles, maybe a twist, twisting, letting the knees drop. Over to one side with the arms open or the opposite arm open, turning from the belly to the chest, the shoulder. So if we're twisting, we'll make sure to twist in both directions. Knees drop to the other side. We'll open the other arm. And then making our way into a Shavasana. So we'll still give ourselves that opportunity to let our bodies absorb all that we've done in this more movement or strength focused practice. So not really a traditional yoga practice, but we'll still give ourselves that Shavasana because that's when our bodies have the opportunity to absorb all that we've done. So you might choose to keep the knees bent, or you could extend them. Letting go of any gripping or holding. Softening the muscles of the face, especially the ones between the eyebrows, and allowing the eyes to be heavy in their sockets. Releasing the tongue and the throat. Softening the shoulders, the arms, and the fingers. Noticing all the parts of the body that are touching the yoga mat, and asking yourself what it would be like to release, let go just 1% more. And then inviting in that release of just 1% more. When you're ready, inviting some movement back into the body, wiggling the toes and the fingers, then gently rolling to one side with the knees bent. To use the top arm to help lift to a comfortable seat. Slowly blinking the eyes open and then bringing the arms overhead, and then hands to heart center. Bowing the chin towards the chest and offering yourself a thank you for showing up today for yourself. Offering your body a thank you for all the ways it helps you to move, all the places it takes you to see. And a thank you from me to you for sharing this time together. The divine light within me honors the divine light within you. Namaste.